All right, so for this week, I want to discuss boosting GLP-1 naturally, potentially, with fiber. The newest drugs taking the weight loss world by storm right now are most commonly referred to as Ozempic, Wegovy, Trulicity, and Mounjaro. All these drugs are GLP-1 or glucagon-like peptide 1 receptor agonist drugs. These drugs work by mimicking the GLP-1 hormone, which has several powerful effects on the body. Okay? So they're typically given as a shot once a week. Varies, but that's typically how it's done. I'm not going to get into all the biochemical actions and everything that they do as far as how they work, but I'll touch on some of that in this presentation. With respect to weight loss, these drugs can obliterate appetite. They do not do that for everyone. They do not work for everyone. There's a percentage of people that, like any drug, they're going to work for. That's why we have 10 different pain relievers. Tylenol works for somebody, but ibuprofen works for someone else, and Aleve works for someone else, and aspirin works for someone else, and on and on and on. Not much difference here with these. There's quite a variety of outcomes, quite a variety of impact and effects these drugs have on the variety of people that we are. But they can obliterate appetite in certain people, and that's and in doing that, they can quiet the incessant processed food addiction noise and help people feel full longer. Okay, it definitely can help quiet that processed food addicted noise and obliterate the appetite in certain people. If they work for you without side effects, they can be a game changer. As of June 2024, based on my deep research into population studies of usage of these drugs, there are, I think, 1 or 2 handfuls of people who aren't taking these drugs. I think there's upwards of 10, maybe 20 people all in who aren't taking these drugs in the United States. Okay, so if you're among the 10 who aren't taking these drugs, this presentation is for you. I'm kind of kidding, barely. Let me rephrase. There's a handful of people who aren't thrilled about the idea of taking these medications. So let's say that you want the GLP-1 effects. You want your appetite obliterated. You want to quiet the processed food addiction noise. You want that. But you don't want to do the drugs. Maybe you prefer a natural approach to boosting GLP-1 or just getting in better shape. Or you're concerned about the potential side effects of these drugs, such as nausea, vomiting, muscle wasting, gallstones, pancreatitis, and hair loss, just to name a few. So let's get into it. So what about boosting GLP-1 activity with something incredibly healthy and natural? How about good old fiber? Well, let's dive into how fiber might be the natural way to curb your appetite and manage weight. Can fiber really give you the same results as drugs? Let's get into it. Fiber, especially certain types of soluble fiber, can have similar effects on GLP-1 levels, but can fiber really give you the same results as the drugs? Well, here we go. So what types of fiber are best suited for increasing GLP-1? We've got beta-glucan. It's found in oats and barley. Beta-glucan is a soluble fiber that has been shown to increase GLP-1 levels. It forms a gel-like substance in your small intestine, which slows down digestion and prolongs the feeling of fullness, leading to a more gradual release of glucose and stimulating GLP-1 secretion. So, start your day with a small bowl of oatmeal and a side of egg whites, and egg with any vegetable. Overnight oats, quick oats, slow cook oats, do not care. Oats are rich in beta-glucan, the eggs are high in protein, and the combination can help keep you satisfied until your next feeding. Like everything else, your mileage may vary because not every single combination of every food works the same for everyone. Just is what it is. Got to figure out what works for you for improving satiety and fullness. But this is good, sound guidance based on all available evidence and mechanisms of action. Remember, besides fiber, another proven way to increase satiety for fewer calories is to increase your protein intake. So protein is highly satiating and can help you feel fuller for longer, which can naturally reduce your calorie intake, which is why I recommended, the oats with some eggs and vegetables. All right. Inulin. This is another type of soluble fiber found in foods like chicory root, garlic, onions, and asparagus. Inulin can boost GLP-1 activity and also improve gut health by feeding beneficial bacteria in the large intestine. These bacteria play a role in producing short-chain fatty acids, which can enhance GLP-1 secretion. So add garlic, onions, asparagus to your meals for an inulin boost. These vegetables are versatile and can be included in many dishes. Next up, pectin, commonly found in fruits like apples and pears. Pectin also works in the small intestine to increase GLP-1 secretion and help you feel fuller longer. So keep apples and pears handy for a quick snack. They're high in pectin, low in calories. What about fiber supplements? Well, if you're struggling to get enough fiber from food alone, consider supplements like psyllium husk or glucosamine. These can be added to water or smoothies and are excellent sources of soluble fiber. So why psyllium and glucosamine? Well, psyllium husk and glucosamine are particularly effective for appetite control and potentially boosting GLP-1 activity because they form a thick gel in the stomach and small intestine, which slows digestion and prolongs satiety. Psyllium has been shown to reduce appetite and improve blood sugar control, while glucosamine is highly effective at absorbing water and expanding in the stomach, leading to a prolonged feeling of fullness. So a little reality check here. Will eating more fiber-rich foods give you the same effects as the GLP-1 drugs if the GLP-1 drugs work at their highest level for you? Mostly no. The effects of fiber on GLP-1 and appetite control are more subtle compared to the potent impact of the drugs, as are most things that are natural compared to the concentrated, active mechanisms of action of drugs. So it's more subtle, not going to be as profound on appetite control. However, fiber-rich foods aren't likely to cause nausea, vomiting, muscle wasting, gallstones, pancreatitis, hair loss. And increasing your fiber intake is a positive for almost everyone. Now, GLP-1 has a very short half-life, typically lasting just a few minutes. So you go, well, someone takes a shot with a semaglutide-based, one of these miracle drugs, and someone takes a shot and it lasts all week, but GLP-1 has a very short half-life. How does that happen? Well, let me first say that GLP-1, with GLP-1 having a very short half-life, only lasting a few minutes in the body, its natural effects, GLP-1's effects on blood sugar control and appetite are short-lived. The drugs, the semaglutide and tirzepatide-based drugs, counter this by having a much longer half-life, allowing them to sustain GLP-1 activity for days, providing continuous appetite suppression and blood sugar regulation. So fiber, on the other hand, works differently, as we might suspect. The GLP-1 boosting effects of fiber are also short-lived because GLP-1 only lasts a few minutes in the body. And the impact of fiber on GLP-1 is going to be more short-lived, but not necessarily entirely short-lived. So just stay with me a second here. Because of the slowing down of digestion and all the impact there, we can have a more prolonged effect. So just stay with me a second here. So beyond GLP-1, because fiber isn't just going to impact with regard to satiety and fullness and hunger activity, it's not going to just impact GLP-1 for appetite control. Several other hormones and chemicals are impacted by fiber intake, and these chemicals and hormones play a significant role in promoting satiety. Let's take a look at this, hopefully. Yeah, it looks like we're good. So peptide YY or PYY This is released by the intestines in response to eating, particularly after consuming high fiber foods. It reduces appetite, PYY does, by slowing down gastric emptying and signaling the brain to induce feelings of fullness. Soluble fibers, which form a gel-like substance in the gut, are particularly effective at increasing PYY levels. I think this is pronounced cholecystokinin or cystokinin. I've heard it pronounced about 3 different ways in doing the research for this. But CCK is a hormone released by the small intestine in response to food intake, especially fats and proteins. It promotes satiety by slowing gastric emptying and stimulating the digestion of fats and proteins. So what impact does fiber have on this? Well, high fiber foods can enhance the release of CCK, thereby promoting feelings of fullness and reducing food intake. Ghrelin is often referred to as the hunger hormone because it stimulates appetite. It is primarily released in the stomach and signals the brain to increase hunger. So what impact does fiber have on that? Well, dietary fiber can help lower ghrelin levels after meals, thereby reducing the sensation of hunger and prolonging satiety. Short-chain fatty acids. What are their function? Well, short-chain fatty acids such as acetate, propionate, and butyrate are produced by the fermentation of dietary fibers in the large intestine. Short-chain fatty acids have various beneficial effects, including enhancing gut health and regulating energy metabolism. What's the impact of fiber on short-chain fatty acids? Well, fermentable fibers like inulin and resistant starch are particularly effective at increasing the production of short-chain fatty acids, which can also influence the release of satiety hormones like GLP-1 and PYY. And we've got insulin up next. Insulin is a hormone produced by the pancreas that helps regulate blood sugar levels. It also has a role in signaling satiety to the brain. What's the impact of fiber on insulin? Well, high fiber diets, particularly those rich in soluble fiber, can improve insulin sensitivity and stabilize blood sugar levels, which in turn can help regulate hunger and satiety. And leptin. Leptin is a hormone produced by adipose fat tissue that helps regulate energy balance by inhibiting hunger. So it inhibits hunger. It signals the brain to reduce food intake when energy stores are sufficient. What's the impact of fiber on leptin? Well, fiber does not directly affect leptin levels. A high fiber diet can aid in weight management, which in turn can help maintain healthy leptin sensitivity and signaling. Pretty complex stuff all in all, but let's talk about how we can optimize our nutrition plan to extend the effects of fiber. Well, frequent fiber-rich meals. Incorporating high-fiber foods in every meal to maintain a steady release of GLP-1 and these other hormones we talked about, and impacting these other hormones and chemicals, but a steady release of GLP-1 throughout the day. Combination of fiber with protein, pairing fiber like vegetables, some fruit, a bit of whole grains and legumes with protein can enhance satiety and prolong the feeling of fullness, helping you manage appetite more effectively. Eat a variety of fiber. Don't look for a single bullet. It's not a single type of fiber. Use a mix of, most whole foods, by the way, are a combination, a mix of soluble and insoluble fibers anyway. But use a mix of soluble and insoluble fibers to get the benefits of both short-term GLP-1 boosts and long-term gut health improvements. We'll talk about the second meal effect for just a second. Another interesting benefit of fiber is something known as the second meal effect. This refers to the improved glucose tolerance and reduced blood sugar levels following a meal rich in certain types of fiber, which can positively impact hunger and glucose control at the next meal. By consuming fiber-rich foods, you can enjoy more stable blood sugar levels and reduced hunger, not just immediately after eating, but also several hours later. And that's what I was talking about earlier when I said even though fiber doesn't have as profound an impact on GLP-1, and GLP-1 has a very short half-life, fiber has this second meal effect for these reasons here and that I just discussed that can help sustain the satiety, sustain the fullness, perhaps have less hunger going into the next meal, which could help regulate how much you want to eat at the next meal. So the more often we can bring in high fiber foods, the better we're going to be. What are the benefits of a high fiber lifestyle? Digestive health. High fiber intake promotes regular bowel movements and prevents constipation. Heart health is impacted in positive ways. Soluble fiber can help lower blood pressure, lower cholesterol, lower overall body and gut inflammation. Even better, 4 studies reviewing over 7 million subjects found a dose-dependent reduction in the risk of mortality, cancer, and heart disease for those who consume the most fiber. In other words, consistently consuming the most fiber reduced the risk of mortality, cancer, and heart disease. And that's awesome. 7 million people were looked at over 4 meta-analysis studies. Really powerful. Blood sugar control. Fiber slows down the absorption of sugar, helping to stabilize blood sugar levels. We get natural appetite control. While the effects might not be as dramatic as with the drugs, a high fiber diet can still help you manage your appetite and reduce overall calorie intake. So, incorporating more fiber in your diet won't replicate the positive effects of GLP-1 drugs if you're a positive responder to those drugs. But thankfully, with high fiber, you avoid all of the potentially negative effects of the drugs presently known. No one knows for sure what additional negative outcomes await the use, or the users, I should say, of the drugs. It'll probably take years before we know how it's all going to shake out. But I'll go on record mid-2024 and say, in the years to come, based on history, based on historical data and evidence of drugs that have come out over eons of time, with these drugs particularly, with hundreds of millions, maybe 1 billion users in the coming years, there will be serious issues discovered. I'm going on record. There will be serious issues discovered, class action worthy. Enough negatives to outweigh the outcomes, or I should say, enough negatives of these drugs eventually found out to outweigh the consequences of living morbidly obese? I don't know. And contrary to those who live in the certainty world, they claim they have certainty on most everything. I don't. And contrary to those who have that position and mindset, no one knows for sure what the outcome is going to be. But if I'm putting money on it, there will be serious outcome. There will be serious adverse effects that are found in the years to come. And I hope I'm wrong. I really do. I hope I'm wrong. I don't want anyone to get hurt. We'll see. I'm not universally anti-GLP-1 drugs, though. I'm not. I have clients on them. And for some, I support their use in conjunction with a leanness lifestyle to quiet the addictive processed food noise. And I get it. The processed food addiction noise is incredible, and it is relentless, and it drives a compulsion that can really feel insurmountable. And I'm for it for that select group of people, and I'm for it to a certain extent cautiously, to help the people that are suffering the most at the higher end of obesity to achieve a calorie deficit, that they weren't able to otherwise achieve consistently with lifestyle behavior modification alone. So wrapping this up, here's what I want to say. Just for everybody, shoot for 25 to 35 grams of total fiber per day, higher end there on that 25 to 35, better for just everyday intake for everyone, no matter what your deal is, whether you want to lose any weight, don't want to lose any weight, you just want to live healthfully. And again, as those studies that I referenced, indicated, millions of people looked at in meta-analyses and dose-dependent response on mortality, cancer, heart disease being better for those who consume the most fiber. So be in that 25 to 35 gram range, 35 gram range of fiber per day, all in. And if you can, slowly inch it up from there to maybe as high as double that amount. Now, just don't jump in the deep end on day one with 60 grams of fiber. You're likely to be very gassy with your gut, somewhat in knots if you just try to bring it up too fast. If you've been not eating very much fiber and you go to try to get to 60 grams, it could be uncomfortable. Not going to be harmful, but it could be uncomfortable. If you're at 25 to 35 grams of fiber a day and you're still ravenously hungry, Consider some of the other factors that I always talk about. What are you eating? Because if you're still indulging in a substance of abuse, processed food-wise, then that's going to drive cravings and hunger galore, even if it's bites, licks, tastes, and sips. So always consider, what are you eating? Are you still eating triggers? If you're still eating triggers, then expect to be ravenously hungry. But if you're getting in 25 to 35 grams of fiber a day and you're still ravenously hungry and you need more fiber and you want to get more fiber, consider a supplement so you don't have to chew another pound of vegetables to get more fiber in. It's okay. I want you to get, in a perfect world, I want you to get your 25 to 35 grams of fiber from whole, real food. But if you want to supplement on top of that and see how that works for you, not every fiber supplement is going to work the same for everyone on hunger, just like the drugs don't work the same for everyone on what they do, just like pain relievers don't, just like I've been mentioning, right? So you may have to just kind of try out some and see how it goes. Again, I would start kind of low and build up, but go ahead and try a fiber supplement instead of, again, I get it, not wanting to eat another pound of vegetables. Always include plenty of water when you're taking a fiber supplement. Always, always, always get plenty of water. I would take it with at least 16 ounces of water. So by focusing on high fiber, high protein, low calorie foods, remove your triggers at least. Remove the substances of abuse so that you don't get the chronic cravings and the ravenous hunger that's just completely out of control. But by focusing on that high fiber, high protein, lower calorie foods, you can enhance your health in multiple ways and you can get some natural appetite control. So give fiber serious consideration. It's a darling macronutrient. It is. It's a darling macro. Basically a non-calorie contributing macronutrient, but it is just fantastic. And it definitely feeds the gut and the trillions of bacteria in our gut, when we feed them properly, impacts our health in ways that they're only barely beginning to discover. But our gut is incredibly powerful. And if we're feeding it the right things in prolonged ways consistently, we can get incredibly powerful positive effects from that as well. So get your fiber in. It's a nearly side effect way to support your body. And who knows, you might find it works better than we even expected. Okay? All right, so that's it for this week. Until next time, let's focus on what we want. Let's be grateful for what we already have. And remember, it's all happening perfectly. Hope to see you next time. Bye-bye for now.